Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our YouTube channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that this video is actually going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I'm not fine, but Kisumu is fantastic. Maybe you could also let me know where you're watching the video from, the county or the country, in case you are out of the republic. Ladies and gentlemen, there is something which I've really observed and it's worrying me. Raila Odinga is basically walking into William Ruto's trap unknowingly. Last week, sorry, not last week, actually early this week, members of parliament allied to William Ruto voted overwhelmingly for the finance bill. That finance bill is a very bad bill and it's going to have serious effect on the livelihood of all Kenyans. And just like I once opined on this platform, that finance bill was actually a political gift which William Ruto handed over to Raila Odinga and Azimio brigades. And if they were strategic enough, then they would use that finance bill to actually make William Ruto a one-term president. But Raila Odinga and Azimio Ninani, they've called for a consultative meeting on Tuesday at Kamkunji grounds. As a matter of fact, Raila Odinga has already returned back into the country for that particular consultative meetings. If you ask me, someone somewhere is either misleading Raila Odinga to make those wrong choices, or Raila Odinga is walking into William Ruto's trap. So in this video, I want us to look at why I personally believe that Raila Odinga is walking into a trap which has been laid for him by William Samoei Arap Ruto. Before we do all those, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. And without any further ado, let us dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been listening to William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua and Kenya Kwanzaa on this issue of the finance bill, the two gentlemen were actually cornered. Their supporters and their members of parliament who are pushing for this bill could not even vote. Well, you know, they would say yes. Very few of them were bold enough, because the finance bill is going to have serious implication on Kenyans. And on 1st of this month, the finance bill is going to come into effect. Kenyans will start feeling the heat of that finance bill. And on 15th of this month, the prices of fuel will be reviewed. According to projections, they will be reviewed upwards by 14 bob per liter, which means the effect is going to be felt instantly. That increase of 14 bob per liter is going to have serious implications on Kenyans. So if I were to advise Raila Odinga, I'd look for money, then get some of my friends who are in the United States, specifically in Miami, and ask them to get me a very good resort with golf. And Raila Odinga relax there, just playing golf for the next few months as Kenyans feel the heat. So that by the time Kenyans will no longer hold the heat, then that's when he will come back. But Raila Odinga and his team have called for consultative meetings on Tuesday. And you can clearly know what to expect from that consultative meeting. The first mistake Raila Odinga is doing is predictability. Anybody cannot predict what Raila Odinga is supposed to do or was going to do next. After the finance bill was passed, William Ruto and his team knew that the next thing Raila Odinga was going to do was to call for mandamano, whether consultative meeting or what, mandamano. Then after calling for that mandamano, Raila Odinga will rally Kenyans to go to the streets. And then after calling the streets, then they'll go there, demonstrate the whole day. Evening, they'll go back. Life will go on in that circle. It will reach a point where a few guys will lose their lives, some will survive, but that is the thing. They know they can easily predict Raila Odinga's next move. And Raila Odinga has fallen for that trap. So if I were Raila Odinga, I'll not call for any meeting until after fast, until after 1 month, or after 3 months. Because calling for this meeting would mean Kenya Kwanzaa are going to be strategic. They'll rally their supporters. And William Ruto is good at propaganda. Then they'll blame Raila Odinga for the low cost of, like the other day, I heard, who was that? Who was this member? I mean, the chair of the finance committee, the Molo member of parliament, claiming that, Kenya Kwanzaa could not do things because of mandamanos, That's exactly what they'll do. Number two, why they're falling for this trap, I think if Raila Odinga were to let Kenyans feel the heat, then Kenyans themselves were going to create an opportunity for July. In July, they'll feel the heat. And then it will be an opportunity for the people of Kenya themselves to now start demanding for Raila Odinga. You see, for example, Raila Odinga had started gaining a lot of traction from even the mountain, from even Rift Valley. People were calling for him to come out and save them. He never responded. So more people are going to come to him. So it was going to be kind of people's driven revolution. That's the opportunity which Raila Odinga is creating. Raila Odinga wants to lead this revolution. It can't happen. The revolution ought to have been driven by the people themselves, which means probably the demonstrations are going to either start from the Rift Valley or the mountain. Then the rest of the country were going to join. The other day I played for you a clip here of that lady who is importing things, and the lady from Gikomba. The cost of living is just unbearable. You just give Kenyans 3 more weeks after the finance bill is in place, then they will revolt. They will revolt against this government themselves. But the moment you have Raila Odinga as leading this revolution, the moment you have Azimio as leading this revolution, it can't work. Why? Because Kenyans are tribal in nature. So now the Kalenjins will go and try to defend their presidency. On the other side, the Kikuyu nation who voted for this government will now try and defend the government. They'll blame Raila Odinga. So for me, Raila Odinga is losing the opportunity of a people's-driven revolution. If I were him and if I were Azimio, I'd let the civil society to take charge of this process. Sometimes you don't have to take credit for everything. So they are falling for the trap. And it's a bad news. Number 3, in my view, by calling for these consultative meetings, or maybe even mandamanos before the effect of the finance bill, basically they are giving Kenya Kwanzaa agenda. Kenya Kwanzaa as a government, they don't have an agenda at all. Sometimes you listen to Ruto, you think, okay, is this guy the president or is the opposition leader? The other day he was in France where he delivered a very powerful speech. And I asked myself, why do you deliver such kind of a speech, yet you still want money from those people? As long as those guys are giving you money, as long as you go there to beg for money from them, there's nothing. I mean, however flowery speech you give, nothing. So they are going to give Kenya Kwanzaa agenda. And you saw today when they were in, where were they? They were in some event somewhere, prayer somewhere. That particular meeting of Azimio was the agenda. Because they like agenda. So you come and call for consultative meetings, you give Kenya Kwanzaa agenda, so that each and every Tom, Dick and Harry in Kenya Kwanzaa will make that an agenda. But if the events are driven by the people, then they can't really tell. If it's driven by, for example, the civil society or even the church, then you can't even think about it. But now, William Ruto is so courageous to an extent that even now, I was just reading that they want to increase NHIF by 1,000, so that if you're not working, then you pay 1,000 per month. Very weird things. Just because Kenyans are defending this government. So you just give Kenyans space. They will revolt. Number 5, it also gives room for infiltration. Raila Odinga's team is one of the most porous team I've ever worked with. You find people like Jaka Kimba working very closely with Raila Odinga. Then they work from the other side. You look, I sometimes I sit back and watch the bombers of Kenya, the shenanigans there. How Jaka Kimba was taking photos. You know, Raila Odinga's camp is the most porous. So which means if Raila Odinga were to initiate these meetings, his team will be infiltrated. Which means sometimes whatever they'll be planning will not be their own. William Ruto will have a bigger say on what they're planning. And for me, that is the biggest fear, that because of the infiltration nature of Raila Odinga's camp, they'll form a team to organize these things. Ultimately, William Ruto will find these people there. He will buy a few guys there who will be briefing him on whatever is happening, just like it happened during the campaigns. And that infiltration would mean several things. If they are planning peaceful events, then these guys will organize to have, like for example, Raila will say, okay, us, during that meeting, us, what we want, we don't want any destruction to property. I know there's someone in William Ruto's camp who is sitting in here. This guy will then report to Ruto that, okay, those guys are planning demonstrations but peaceful, so we must disrupt it. So they'll organize a counter, so that as you plan for peaceful, then they'll organize goons who will be pickpocketing people on the street, destroying properties, destroying people's cars somewhere. Then, because it's you guys who called for the demonstrations, you will carry that burden. And that's exactly what they did last time, infiltration. And lastly, this finance bill is a very good opportunity to rally the entire country against it. But by coming out to organize something against it, consultative meetings, that will not happen. The Kenyans will just bear it. They'll feel the heat, but because mtu wao ako president, Kikuyus, because Raila Odinga will be leading it, and some of them have been programmed to believe that Raila Odinga is a devil. So if I were Raila Odinga, I'd let this thing take its course. Pole pole. Pole pole. Wakenya wafinywe makende kidogo hivi. Wafinywe hivi. You know, wafinywe. Then, we'll see a lot of changes coming. But if you start planning things even before the finance bill come into effect, what are you telling Kenyans? That's my personal opinion. I don't know what your opinion is. Let me know your opinion down here. Thank you, and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.